Concerned that Colin's lack of 40k lore knowledge is a bad look for the game, an unnamed game company has set in Professor Bailey Stromterius with critical instructions. Colin has just 12 weeks to become fluent with 40k lore, or he'll fail their test and the repercussions will be dire. Acknowledging the severity and timeline of the situation, Colin has set aside 20 minutes a week to prepare. This is that 20 minutes. Welcome to 40k Lore Crash Course.
Okay, Colin, you at least promised me about 20 minutes of your focus for this episode.
It's true. And the dogs and the kids are here, but I went into the void. So, I closed the void in. I'm ready to focus. Unless somebody invades the void, I will have to defend that. But yes, no, we're ready. So where are we starting?
40K. So we're going to start at the very beginning. In fact, the beginning of the beginning.
All right.
We're going to talk about the Horus Heresy in this video. But to understand the Horus Heresy, you're going to have to understand how the time led up to the Horus Heresy as well.
Cool.
We'll focus on that just right in the beginning.
Well, because 38,000 years from now, right? So some stuff has happened before then, like in between. There's relevant information in the middle is what you're saying?
100%. Getting us started. We're here on Earth right now, me and you, in this video.
Mm-hmm.
28,000 years progresses. And during that time, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, as makes sense in such a long, vast expanse of human history.
Sure.
We master space travel. We explore the stars. Humanity becomes a massive empire in which, covering many, many, many sectors and systems, we are able to colonize planets, expand our technologies to incorporate all manner of things, including self-thinking engines and robots, cloning technologies, almost anything that you can think of in any sci-fi universe, humanity gets to do it.
Okay.
And Warhammer 40,000, just like every other sci-fi universe, when humanity gets its hands on all this incredible technology and cool stuff, it usually doesn't tend to go so well because there's always someone that wants more. And in Warhammer 40k lore, it's not just us out there as we're expanding, as we're colonizing, as these ships of humans are going all over space. We end up running into a lot of other races and a lot of other alien species. And
I just want to be clear. This is yet another thing where humanity thinks that AI technology is a good idea. This is like the most sci-fi trope is that that we've made this AI technology and it's not trustworthy. I just want to make sure I didn't go past that.
No, at this point of our history, we're super trustworthy of AI. We think they're great. We make these gigantic robots that are super cool called the Men of Iron. You can kind of see there in that slide. That's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the big problem is the robots realize it would be peace if the humans weren't making us fight each other. So they rebel. And there is a massive war between the humans and the Men of Iron, which will then lead to the banning of AI by humanity, more or less.
Okay.
Which we'll see later on in 40k lore, and I'm sure we'll discuss in later.
So far, unusual and hard to follow concept that I've never heard before. Please continue.
Yes. And then it all falls apart.
Sure.
There's massive storms within space. Humans haven't really discovered the warp or how to use it to travel yet, and the warp will be a big thing we'll talk about. Don't want to tangent us just yet.
That's my job.
Yeah, exactly. But you're in the warp right now. It actually kind of looks like. But yeah, so basically humanity, all the colonies, they lose contact with one another. Some of them are swallowed up in these raging storms that birth monsters of the mind's worst imagination. And Terra itself loses all connection to everything, even the great colonies of Mars, which are almost as populous as Terra at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It all falls apart, and Earth becomes, for more intents and purposes, a Mad Max wasteland of destruction. So this is around the year 15,000 that everything really goes to crap.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. So then, well, not perfect actually for humanity, quite bad. Terra becomes, yes, indeed, basically Mad Max with these massive warlords who are taking all this beautiful technology that humanity has used to expand to the stars and is turning it to their own purposes. We have warlords that have these massive AI armies. We have, because they're of course not listening to the bands, we also have warlords that are splicing all manner of humanity with any sort of matter they can find to create these terrifying monsters and clones and massive armies of those. And there's also humans that have learned to tap into this warp, which is this ethereal plane, more or less, a whole nother realm of space and time that allows certain humans who are psychically gifted the ability to manipulate objects, use the warp to create lightning from their fingertips. Kind of think of the Force in Star Wars. For many of these psychers, which during this age of strife, as these warp storms are rippling across the galaxy, these psychers become more numerous on Earth. So during this age of strife, as humanity is ripping itself apart and the wars are going all over the place, we have all of these psychic beings that are also using this power, of course, to become powerful and greater than humanity. Now, during this time, there is some of these psychic beings who decide that this isn't good for humanity, what's going on Terra. And so they come together, these shamans, as they're called, all of them come together and with their lives and their life essence, create what would later become known as the Emperor of Mankind. The Emperor of Mankind.
All these shaman people aren't going to make the Emperor? The Emperor's not like a dude?
Well, he's birthed, he is a dude.
Okay.
But in their death and in the essence of their life force, which is ironic for anyone that knows 40k lore going forward, past what we're going to talk about today, the Emperor is birthed through the souls of these psychically gifted individuals, these shamans, who use all their psychic might, combine it into this being who is incredibly psychically powerful.
Do these shamans have a silly name? Or they're just the shamans, which is fine.
They're mostly known as the shamans.
My question is, should the shamans have spent longer because his head is tiny compared to his giant, enormous gorilla arms? And I think that, I don't know, and he's also got Abaddon's claw hand. So like the whole thing is really, maybe Abaddon's claw hand is actually a love letter back to the Emperor. It seems unlikely.
You never know. We can always tackle that when we get there. But yeah, no, very, very small-headed. I think as we progress as humans to the year 40,000, if we look at much of the art that we see from this universe, our heads just get so much smaller and our shoulders get so much wider.
Yes. And hallways become enormous from what I see.
Massive.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
All right. Perfect. So the Emperor.
Well, this picture is worse. This is even less flattering.
It's going to keep getting worse. This is our next progression, what I just was talking about. We've removed necks from the equation. So yes, so the Emperor, throughout these years of humanity, as we move forward towards the era of unification, he is working behind the scenes as Earth itself is continually rebuilding itself, tearing itself down, rebuilding itself, and he becomes a warlord of his own right during this age of strife. And he begins to build a kingdom, drawing together the most powerful individuals, making alliances with those that he thinks will benefit him and see his vision of a united humanity spanning the stars. And he's very vocal about this right from the beginning. Now, you know, his idea of it is like, we as humans should rule the stars. We are the best. Bring everybody together. And so, but not everyone agrees. And many of these techno-barbarian warlords, as they're called, fight the Emperor, and they have many, 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 many wars over the next like 10 to 15,000 years.
At some point, I have questions about just how many people are left alive. Like, you can only fight for so long. Like, eventually, you're just losing important populace that are needed to do things like grow food.
Yes, my explanation of what I found in my research has been that humanity was so overpopulated that there's millions of us. And obviously, even though on Earth we have all these wars and stuff going on, when the Emperor is fighting in the unification wars to gather the Earth, a lot of times he's not necessarily fighting human armies. So there definitely are some of those. We do get some horrifying perspectives of the other side and some of the Horus Heresy novels where they get absolutely eradicated. But there is also quite a few armies, like I said, of clone soldiers, of weird gene-bred mutant things, psychic armies that have handlers, and just like the most debased and crazy things you can think of. So the Emperor decides to make the most debased and crazy thing that he can think of, which is called the Thunder Warriors. So
they're called the Thunder Warriors?
They're called the Thunder Warriors, not the Thundercats.
Terrible name. Okay, let's do it.
The Thunder Warriors. And this is what
I have literally never heard of the Thunder Warriors. I'm excited about it. I might call my Space Marine Purple chapter the Thunder Warriors now. I haven't decided, but please continue.
Yes. It's a hilariously bad name. And they look like this fine gentleman here to our right.
Oh, he's a Thunder Warrior?
That is a Thunder Warrior.
That is worse. Okay.
The Thunder Warriors were the proto Space Marines. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but so the Emperor creates these warriors, and these are his first attempt, because the Emperor is incredibly smart, psychically gifted, just like the perfect guy, and chiseled features.
Excellent. Let's be one of the good guys. Let's roll.
Yeah, exactly. During these 15,000 years of wars and trying to unify, he will, through the Age of Strife and then to the actual unification wars, he learns all this gene splicing technology. He builds this gigantic lab, and he starts testing on these specimens, the most aggressive, scary warriors he can find. Right. He's trying to find the dudes that
bigger
commit war crimes.
Shoulders than him.
Yes, and that want to commit war crimes. So he finds these guys, and he jacks them he adds all this muscle to them. He jacks them full of all these extra organs, and he heightens their aggression parts of their brains. So these guys just want to kill. That is it, for the most part. There's some outliers.
I guess one of my questions is, if you were doing this, how far into the project would you go? You know what they need is more organs. Like, I understand the general premise of, well, see, I have backup organs. So that's cool. But I think that the idea that we are 7 feet tall and extra organs, I don't know, maybe 10 feet tall and worry about the organs later. I'm just saying.
It's true. So, and at the beginning, it's not a whole lot. I think he gives them, the extra heart comes into play here. And he unleashes this army of unification, the Thunder Warriors, onto his enemies. Yes.
Again, probably the good guys.
Probably the good guys. Yep. And as they knock down kingdom after kingdom after kingdom, either through absolute destruction or the Thunder Warriors destroy the enemy army, and then the people who rule those kingdom go, oh yeah, Emperor, your idea is a good idea. We're going to follow you. Don't kill us. So, because, like you said, good guys. And the Emperor also has his own personal bodyguard as the Thunder Warriors are rolling over humanity's enemies, he perfects his own personal bodyguard, the Adeptus Custodes. But they're these very powerful golden warriors, super cool.
Okay.
So
I have been confused about this for a long time. What is their actual name? Because it's not. Is it custodians?
Yeah, the custodian guard of the Emperor.
Okay. And in this context of British words, does it mean something different than being the janitor?
I think if we go back to the base roots of syntax of the word custodian, there's kind of like guardian and a caretaker is the best. Caretaker is the best way to look at it. So they mind the Emperor.
More of a groundskeeper Willie sort of situation. I'm with you. Okay.
100%.
All right.
So after the unification wars are done, now a lot of Thunder Warriors have died, and the Emperor started to realize the Thunder Warriors aren't incredible. They kill stuff so good, but they kind of have a hard time killing stuff or stopping killing stuff. They just keep wanting to kill. And the other big problem is they are so jacked on steroids and all the extra organs and muscle that their lifetime frames are heavily degraded. So these dudes are living to 30 and then they just start falling apart.
Right, like good time, not a long time.
Yeah. So, and the Emperor goes, man, it's going to be hard to have to rebuild my army every 30 years to conquer the galaxy.
I don't know. 30 years seems like a really long time, but okay, sure.
Yeah. So he's like, well, let's go ahead and I'm going to start my next project. So while, again, the Thunder Warriors are rolling over everybody, he begins the Adeptus Astartes project, where he starts working on creating a better Thunder Warrior.
See, I didn't know that the Custodes are older than the Space Marines. So that's neat.
Yeah. And so he creates this Space Marine, which this is the pinnacle. But before he does that, of course, he decides, I'm going to jump to the next slide.
Less shoulders. Well, hold on. That previous one demonstrates why they're able to get into transports. Yes. Because they've narrowed. He's like, oh, they're too wide. This isn't going to work. People are going to have to be more narrow than me and these Thunder Warriors. Please continue.
100%. So we'll come back to the Astartes in a second. First, he's going to make the Primarch Project.
Okay.
And that's where he goes, I'm lonely. I need sons.
Sure.
I also need these demigods that I'm going to create, because though I am not a god.
Really bad reason to have children as a dad, but sure. Okay.
He says, I need sons to lead my armies, and I need sons that are going to help me rule this vast empire, which even though we haven't left Terra yet, we're going to quickly do so. And he's got this vast plan to totally conquer the galaxy, but he needs these 20 sons.
Okay. And just to throw Games Workshop a bone here, there are no daughters in this story because this was written in the 70s and 80s, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay, so we're going to throw them a bone on that it's only sons, because that is kind of silly.
It is a little, yes.
So he's
they had a mom. They had a mom.
The girl dad hat is literally on, so I just thought it was an important tangent.
It is a very good point. They are starting to rectify these issues in their books as they've come out, as I'm reading them. I've noticed. We've got a lot of really cool. You mentioned the Stormcast Eternals. Not the tangent is too much, but they've got some incredible female warriors.
Yep.
But yeah, this old lore.
Rather than
20 cents.
Hey, we're the Sisters of Battle, so that we can have a female faction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So he makes these sons. He makes 20 of them.
Okay.
And it's a very expansive process. Each son, he takes a piece of himself, not necessarily a physical piece, but a part of what makes him him, whether it's his psychic might, his tactical mind, his charisma, his sneakiness, his anger, whatever. He puts it all into a whole bunch of different of his sons. And while he has them growing in incubators, and while they're around 1 to 2 years old, there is a massive cataclysm catastrophe. And all the sons, there's a gigantic warp storm, and all the sons are yeeted into the galaxy.
Sure.
And he's like, oh no.
Okay, so wait, all the sons are together. I've got questions. So where are all the sons at the beginning of this?
The sons, as they've been made, they're in their little embryonic capsules. They have these gigantic, probably like motorhome sized capsules.
No, it's a Krypton thing. I get it.
Massive complex underneath the European plate.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So we've built this under the tectonic. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Uh-huh.
Or on top. It's underneath. Yeah. They actually don't go into how deep it goes. We're not sure, but that's how it's described in one of the books.
All right. Well, I've got geology nerd friends in 40K, so we'll wait to hear from them.
Wonderful. Yes. So
it'll rock.
Yeah. So anyway, warp storm happens. The Emperor is like, oh no. And all of his sons get grabbed up in the swirling vortex and are gone.
Okay. And we don't know, at this point, at least, we don't know why this has happened.
The interesting thing is, the Emperor seems to know that his sons are out in the galaxy somewhere, because now his goal is going to be to do everything in his power to go find them.
Okay. So, well, sure. He doesn't know where his sons are. You immediately need to deal with that.
Yeah. It's a big problem. So what he does have is all these samples.
I don't have 20 sons. 3 is so many.
Now imagine if they all just disappeared at once. Such a nightmare.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. So you kind of made me feel his panic here in this moment. So
sort of, but also it's probably really quiet now.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. So now his focus shift, like I said, to find his sons. So the last war of unification is finished, and and at Mount Ararat, after the Battle of Mount Ararat, the Emperor says he erase the last of his Thunder Warriors. And he says he's going to basically give them a grand speech, and they're all super excited. And then all of a sudden, all of these even taller golden giants with spears, the Custodes, kind of show up, and then they kill them all.
Oh, the Custodes kill the Thunder Warriors?
They do. That's why there is some in the lore, which would make an excellent episode, because they're all actually pretty cool guys in the Horus Heresy when you learn about them.
The Thunder Warriors or the Custodes?
The Thunder Warriors.
Oh, they're cool guys. Okay, cool. So
the few that you hear about.
They maybe the good guys? No, not the good guys.
Probably not. I don't think anyone is a good guy necessarily.
But I'm looking for them because I've been told.
I definitely feel.
I've been told that there's no good guys. Yeah, I've been told that by many people the whole time I've been playing Warhammer. So, as an optimist who finds positivity in most places, I am going to look out for the good guys. We haven't found them so far, though. I'm confident.
Not so far. We can feel pity for the Thunder Warriors. As they were
War and Army of Unification is a hell of a start to I'm not a good guy.
Yes. Yeah, we can definitely feel pity for the Thunder Warriors. They're getting ready for their big speech from the guy that made them, their pseudo dad, and they're like, "This is awesome." And then their like ugly stepbrothers show up and kill them all. It's kind of rough.
Red wedding all over the place. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and it's super hush hush. No one knows about this either. Just so you know.
Sure.
Yeah, the Thunder Warriors are told to have died to a man fighting this last battle. Then we have the Astartes project, and so the Emperor doesn't have 20 sons anymore. They're gone.
Sure.
But he's got the stuff that he made the 20 sons with, called gene seed, which is kind of basically the genes of his sons. And so he will take each of these sons' genes and create them armies of dudes made out of their genes. So sons for them. He makes them hundreds of thousands of sons.
Right.
Which is kind of wild considering he hasn't really even met his sons.
It's again lonely.
Yeah. So instead of, and I guess he already did the whole son thing. So let's make grandchildren, right?
The Emperor, 40k's loneliest man.
Yeah.
Man.
And instead of, I thought if it was me, I would have made 20 grandsons or 40 grandsons. Not millions, but I mean,
it's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot. He's a busy guy. So yeah, so he'll make all these grandchildren, and he'll organize them into 20 legions for his sons. So when he finds them, he can go, here is an army to kill the world with.
Okay.
Because he's assuming his sons are going to be incredibly warlike like himself.
Which
we
already are doing a nature versus nurture situation here, and we're so early in the lore. But
the Emperor, after building enough of his legions of these Adeptus Astartes, these Space Marines up, will launch a great crusade into the stars to find his sons and kill everybody along the way, or have them join him. They can choose or die. Join or die.
Choose or die, sure.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Tough but fair.
And the Emperor, his whole goal with this is he's obviously mad about the warp, because the warp made him lose his son. So even though he's a very psychic being and relies on the warp to be as powerful as he is, he wants to eradicate all gods and religion. And he would like to have everything be based on science, math, and facts.
Oh, maybe he is the good guy.
He creates a giant organization of people to instruct other people that the religious stuff they're doing is wrong, and that they should believe in cold reality, science, facts, and things that can be proven.
Okay.
Because he sees religion as the issue of why humanity has not been able to bring itself together in enough ways to form a gigantic galaxy-spanning empire. That's how he sees it. It creates power, and power among humanity creates the wars, basically. That's how, very footnotes version, that's how he sees it.
The history professor has really dropped the truth bomb on everybody there.
Out into the stars they go. And they take over world after world after world. Some humans, when the ships show up in the sky, they're like, yes, humanity, things are very bad here. We've almost eaten all of our squirrels and we're going to starve. And they're excited to join the Emperor and join the Imperium of Man is what he names it.
Right, because you don't have to eat squirrels is a great sales pitch.
Yeah, 100%. Now, but then they show up to other places where humanity hasn't regressed, but it's progressed, and it's all robots and AI, or there are a ton of clones of one person all living together like, whoop.
Jango Fett, as far as you can see.
And the Emperor's like, that's not okay. Space Marines, kill. And the Space Marines destroy them. And the Emperor, they find the sons. And each son, as the Emperor finds them, some of them have done very well for themselves.
Sure.
Some of them, he shows up and they greet him in their own starships with their own armies and go, Father, look at this world that I have made. Only you can be my dad because you're this beautiful.
Right.
And then there is the bottom of the rung. There are some Primarchs who unfortunately ended up in situations that were not great for them. And so, for instance, Angron is literally a gladiatorial slave. And in the process of leading a failed rebellion against the planet, so he's not doing super hot when the Emperor finds him. Or there's Conrad Kurz, who Capsule gets left into a city full of criminals who literally eat people, and so he survives by eating people until he's a guy.
Better than squirrels. I'm just saying.
It's true. Better than squirrels. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. He does comment on how people taste good in the books. So.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah. So we have that. And then there's a couple outliers. So the Emperor finds all 20 sons, but we only get to know about 18. 2 of them, though it's hinted greatly that they rebel or are destroyed by the Emperor when he finds them. 2 of them are basically taken care of, and their legions are subsumed into the other legions, more or less.
Okay. So
Okay, reeling it back in. Yes,
Yes.
Great Crusade. It's still ongoing, but now all the suns have been found. They're leading their 100,000 to 200,000 man armies of Space Marines, and they are marching across the galaxy. And they find a massive space orc empire, which are these like fungal dudes, fungal orcs.
Okay.
They're super massive, led by I think the Krork, the really big ones. And they have a massive battle through the Ulnar system. And it's actually a pretty good contest for the Emperor and his sons, but they do destroy the orcs, and then they have a big triumph to show off that they have defeated their hardest enemy to date. Mm-hmm. The Emperor then says, "Good job to everybody. I'm going to name my son Horus Lupercal," who kind of gained a lot of his like aura and tactical might, as well as being just a great warrior. He kind of got it all. Like all the sons have parts of the Emperor, and Horus was like my favorite. So he got it all.
I rolled better in character design.
100. He got 20s everywhere.
Yeah.
So the Emperor will say, "I am going to name you the War Master of the Imperium, and you are going to continue my crusade, and all of your brothers, who to this point have been equals to you, now have to answer to you. And I'm going to go back to Terra, and I have a super secret project that nobody gets to know about, and I'm going to go work on that." And Horus goes, "What's the project, Dad?" And he says, "You don't get to know." And he leaves.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I parent, so it tracks.
Yeah, exactly. It's a need-to-know basis because I said so. Yeah. So now with the Great Crusade leaderless, except for this new War Master, Horus Lupercal, they'll begin expanding into the stars. And Horus has all the powers, control of all the armies, and sets all the campaigns. Yeah. So you can obviously see the namesake of Horus Heresy. Something bad might happen here. Who knows?